Yeah, what do you think about the fact that they tended, when he came back to Earth, he was put in a cat's body?
I really didn't like that. Well, I mean, it works for the story they're trying to tell. There's a lot of things that are like, I get why they did it, and I get that it works for the story that they're telling, but it's just like an annoying thing outside of the movie that just annoys me as a reader, well, as a viewer. Just because I've seen this like a few times in movies, it's just starting to feel like a tired trope. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if this was the first movie I'd ever seen that did this like body swap animal thing, I'd be like, ooh, that's interesting. That's a zany twist. But because I've seen it in Princess of the Frog and
Faldi Faldonza.
You don't look that much different. But how'd you get way up there? And how'd I get way down here and all this?
Easy, princess, do not panic.
What did you do to me? I'm green and I'm slimy.
No. That is not slime.
What?
You are secreting mucus.
Spies in Disguise.
If I can make you disappear.
And Emperor's New Groove.
What? A llama? He's supposed to be dead!
Yeah, weird.
It feels like the movie, up to that point, I felt like it was surprising and taking these twists and turns. And then when it got there, I felt like it settled into, we're telling this familiar cartoon, oh, we're in an animal, like, isn't it funny sort of story. And I was like, wow, I thought you were working on a higher level than that. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of like sank into like a comfortable groove. Lucky it's just for like a little chunk in the middle of the movie. And I feel like they still do like some good character development and stuff during that chunk. So I don't feel like it's like a wasted part of the movie. But I feel like it feels like an almost comfortable part of the movie, to the point that it's feeling a little bit like, okay, kind of seen that, done that. So I was a little like, come on, can't we do something different?
Except for just a comfy zone, do you share an opinion that it's kind of frustrating to see black characters being turned into animals in movies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because it's been done so many times, like I listed all those movies. Like, if this was the first time it had been done, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I can't believe they turned a black guy into an animal. Like, that's fine for a movie storyline. Like, I like body switch movies. I like Freaky Friday. I like
Spies in Disguise.
Yeah, I like Spies in Disguise. I like movies where people are not in their right body. Though it's a classic comedic setup to see like a man, a big hairy man, but he's like, oh my god, like, that's funny, you know. Or you see like a little girl, but it's like, what the hell is in the body? Like, that's funny, sure, but when you see it over and over and over, then it starts feeling like, is this all you guys can do? Like, I've seen 3 black people turn into animals before, like, especially in animation where you don't get a lot of black people. It's when you see one, you're like, oh cool, this is going to be something fresh and original, and it felt fresh and original for the first like 20 minutes, and then as soon as that point hit, I was just like, oh man, it feels like we're taking a step backwards now.
It doesn't feel great to see that trope happening. Just like, oh, black people, animal characteristics would turn into a penguin, cat, frog, or whatever, because it's not something that usually happened with white characters. White characters, when it comes to body switching, they switch bodies with other humans. And I'm like, why does it, when we have to switch something when it comes to black people, it always has to be an animal and just not another human switching to another human. So I was not a fan of that for a little bit. Yeah. So.
Especially with animation.
Yeah.
I feel like in live action, I've seen a few black people switch with other people, but it's usually like real people. When it comes to animation, they're always switching with animals. It's weird. That's the criticism that a lot of people are making when they see the trend. Because I think when The Princess and the Frog came out, people were like, great movie, it's fine, you know, we like it. But there was a little bit of criticism of just the idea of, oh man, the first black princess gets turned into a frog for most of the movie. Like, come on, like everyone else gets a princess and we're like, yeah, finally we get a princess, but she's a frog for most of the movie. So there was a little bit of that criticism, but most people were just like, hey, it's a good movie, whatever. Then Spies in Disguise came. And, okay, I'm just going to stick to the black ones, even though they are the native ones with Brother Bear and the Emperor's New Groove. But just to stick to the black ones, then you get to Spies in Disguise. People are like, oh, this is a cool Will Smith spy story. And then he gets turned into a pigeon. And people are like, I mean, this has happened before. So is this like a trend? What's going on? Like, we don't get a lot of black stories. The only one that I can think of where it's a lead that doesn't get turned into an animal is like Spider-Verse. And people love that one as well, won the Oscar. But then we come to Soul. And now you're having another black person get turned into a creature, and then, well, first they're soul blue Teletubby.
Firstly, he dies.
Yeah, first he dies, he's turned into a blue Teletubby, and then the cat. So when you see the trend, then people start asking, what's going on here? Like, what could it be? And then it starts becoming, the one theory is it's easier maybe to sell the movie if you can put a cat and a blue soul creature on the poster instead of a black person that might turn some people off, or a llama for Emperor's New Groove, or a pigeon or whatever. So that's one of the theories. Personally, because I did a little bit of research on this movie, I don't think that's the case. I mean, there might be a little bit of that subconsciously. But when you actually look at the production of the movie, it wasn't supposed to be a black person at first. They actually wrote the story. It was a white character. They were like halfway through the actual development of the movie when they were trying to they were trying to decide what his passion is going to be. What's the thing that's driving him through this movie? And they decided music, and they were like, okay, what kind of music? And they decided jazz music. And that's when they decided to make the character
a black person.
Because they were like, oh, it's jazz in New York. It'll make sense if the character's black. So it was already after they decided to turn him into a cat, and like that was all part of the story. Then they made him black. And I remember in another interview when someone asked them, like, are you at all concerned about this criticism people have made of these other movies? They were like, we actually didn't know that when we were making the movie. We actually didn't know that there was like a history of it. And then we found out like, as we were making the movie, and we're like, oh. Hopefully people can see there's still love in the story, but it does fall forward in the trope. So they are aware of it. They're aware that they kind of stepped in it, but I don't think they were trying to. So I'm like, hey man, with all these movies, I don't think any of these people were trying to, but it is a trope. And that's the problem now. Whoever's making the next animated movie that has a black lead, you need to steer away from tropes just because you don't want your movie to feel like a ripoff of something else. You don't want it to feel like, we've done this before. Like, I don't even need to go into representations of black people, and black people need to see other black people on screen. Like, all that stuff's important. But just from the idea of, do you want to make a good story that your audience enjoys, instead of thinking, oh, this story is kind of like that other story. Oh, this story feels too familiar. Oh, they're doing this again. You don't want those types of criticisms. So just to make it feel fresh and original, I just think they need to retire this trope for like 20 years. Just because the last 3 animated movies with the black leads have done this. I'm just like, just retire it. Like, okay, we've gone through the animal transforming phase. Now give me the whatever phases next. Just evolve the storytelling. Just because even if you don't care about black people, if you just want to be a good storyteller, just move forward and do something original.